Hi.
That is
Welcome to Soundings with Sash. Hi, David.
Hello, Sandy. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to have you on the show tonight.
Me too.
Please introduce yourself and tell our audience about you.
Sure, absolutely. So I am David Lee, leadership, life, and relationship coach. Sounds so official and well, yeah. What I do is I help people find perspective. That's really what I do. I do coaching through retreats and one-on-one coaching, group coaching environments, et cetera, et cetera. And a little segue, so this particular topic that we're going to dive into tonight, we seem to land on this a lot in my experiences with clients. So thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate the invitation, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I can't wait. I know we've talked a little bit offline and can't wait to dig in. So thanks for having me.
Yes. Okay. So yes, as you know, our topic is narcissism. And I feel like it can be blurry. I think that narcissism, the definition of it, there's actually a narcissistic personality disorder diagnosis, which of course has the narcissistic tendency. Narcissist comes from the Greek Narcissus, who there's a myth and tale about that. So, go look it up. I'm not going to verbatim tell you what that is and why. But I think you should go do some research if you're using the word narcissism, because I think that people get really caught up in this label. And I think there's a true narcissistic personality disorder. I do know some people that have had that diagnosed, and it still has the same as a personality attribute. Like some people have a narcissistic tendency. So the excessive need for admiration, lacks a little bit of empathy, can't handle criticism. Those are the pieces of narcissism that I'm talking about. And so what I found in narcissistic personality disorder is it's usually in childhood. It is a parenting that was either overly critical or overly admirable. So they kind of put you up on a pedestal. So I find that that's kind of the roots of that. And I want to talk to David about this because he's been on our show before on Awakenings Within, and we talked about boundaries. And so that was a great conversation, and I wanted to have him back. And I follow his page, and you all should too. Look it up, Daring Deeply, and him as a relationship coach. He has some great memes out there. And so one day he posted this meme, and do you want to say what the meme said, or do you want me to?
Why don't you? In fact,
I know it's my
quote. I know it's my quote, but I can't.
It's his quote, but I will tell you, it said, blaming the narcissist for all of your pain is like blaming the wild, majestic, exotic tiger for whose cage you chose to walk into. As soon as I read that, I had a trigger. Mm-hmm. If you've dealt with a narcissist, if you've been in a relationship with them, my first thought, trigger, knee-jerk reaction was, what do you mean? I didn't choose to walk into that cage. He lured me. He seduced me. He love bombed me. That's how he got me in the cage. So when I read that, I was like, oh. But then as I started to process that, and actually I spoke with David about it before this, it was a good discussion about, there were some broken places in me to where that was, I gave myself into that maybe because of that brokenness. And I didn't recognize the red flags of a narcissist pulling me into that. So that's what I want to talk to David about, because I was like, I took it two ways. And that's why I said, I want to discuss this with you, because I didn't want to knee trigger and just say, hey, what are you talking about? I didn't do it to me. And as I started to think it, I'm like, no, maybe I didn't do it to me, but maybe I should have followed some red flags of that. Yeah. So anyway, I would like for you to speak on that now, since you're the one that wrote the meme, and I want to hear the explanation and all that fun stuff.
For sure. Yeah. Well, first I have to say this, Sandy, that I applaud the curiosity that you came to me with this. And to let your audience know, certainly, that you were far from the only one in which this meme triggered, folks. It was very polarizing. I received a great deal of feedback on this, and some folks who said, wait a minute, whoa, very similar to your reaction. And so I applaud your curiosity and saying, hey, wait, I'm triggered and I want to know more.
Right.
I always applaud that. I try to do that myself, is to be curious before critical, which is super hard to do. Super hard to do because we are triggered by things and we're like, wait a minute, whoa, 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 right? And we tend to be critical before we're curious. So I applaud you for that. Thank you for that. And it really generated into this conversation. So I wanted to say that first. So I really thought long and hard before I wrote that and before I posted it, fully knowing that when I write something and publish it, there it is, you know, as fellow writers, you're a writer, we're a writer, influencers, coaches, that type of thing. When we put something out in the world, and now it's fodder for all to see and for all to respond to. So although, yes, criticism is tough, I applaud it because it starts conversations. It starts this conversation. And this conversation may just lend into many more conversations right outside of this. So why did I write the meme? Why did I? Because it's a hot trigger button thing. Narcissism is. I've always been one, Sandy, I try to limit and have limited in my life. And believe me, I've done plenty of the blame game, blame shift stuff in my own life. Have that whole story still fall into those waters at times. But what I've tried to do is to try to limit the labeling of anyone. So from my perspective, what I bring is that I am a proponent and follow the philosophy, although it may be rare, is that there is some danger, some challenge to labeling somebody anything, from a narcissist to a codependent to an addict to anything. And the reason why I say this is, once we label someone, it puts them in a box. And it's really, really easy to seal that box and say, yep, that's what they are. And as soon as we say, yeah, that's what they are, when we say they, right, it isolates them, it isolates us, and doesn't allow for any transformation or growth. Now, for me, when I say, oh, that person's a bigot, that person's a racist, that person's a whatever, that person cuts their lawn too early in the morning-ist, right? Suddenly, they don't have the ability to maybe shift their lawn time to the afternoon, right? So, and I make joke about it. But the point is, as soon as I say he's a narcissist, what that does is it not only limits him or her, it limits my perspective. Because once I limit somebody's ability to transform and change, I've looked in the mirror and told myself that I can't. Because if I can say to somebody they can't change or they're labeled a certain thing, then in some ways I've done that to myself.
Well, what if you know that they're not getting help for that certain diagnoses, so to speak?
That's a fantastic question. And this is a global challenging question, in which really falls into the last time I was on your show talking about boundaries, is ultimately we always need to ask the question, is it ever our responsibility to police or monitor somebody else's behavior?
That's a very good question.
So I think it's a powerful question, and especially in today's landscape with this thing called an election in about a week or so. I've heard there's something going on.
Yeah, we don't together.
I've heard.
There's something in the air. Yes.
Something's going on. That if we, as my mama, my grandmother, I called her mama, as she would tell me as a young child, David, mind your business. Mind your business. Mind your business. In other words, mind your business. Right. So what somebody else does or doesn't do.
That's
right.
Correct.
How much of it is that our business? Now, this is really complicated, Sandy. This
in
is
a relationship.
Super tough because if we're in a relationship with someone and they are not behaving, boy, do we want to change them. Boy, do we want to lead them down a golden road.
That's
boy, do we want them to therapy. We want them to change. Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
I agree. I agree with
So
that.
hard. So
It is. It is. I agree with you though. You cannot, you cannot change somebody else. You can do this. You can change you. That's it.
And
that is it.
Super hard, especially when you're in a relationship with someone with whom you love.
Right.
And
you have to make some hard choices then, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. So ultimately it does get back to the idea of boundary, whether we're talking about narcissism or codependency, which I can jump into that continuing here in a little bit, if you're open to that.
Absolutely.
But I think really the first step in understanding this is one, and I love what you said at the top of the show, where you said, folks, go find out what this means. Like, go find out what narcissism means.
Yeah. Before you go to telling everybody that somebody is a narcissist, because that's not correct sometimes.
It's really tough. And words tend to get thrown into the popularized space.
Oh, yes.
So then anything that resembles that particular label will then get labeled, oh, well, right. So.
Right. Because I think that sometimes confidence and self-esteem can come off as narcissist, as a narcissist perspective. I think that people are labeled that when they have a little bit of confidence and self-esteem, which we know that a narcissist actually is the opposite. They actually don't have self-esteem. They actually don't have confidence. And that's why they lack empathy and disregard. So anyhow,
we often say, and these are some of the tendencies that tend to elevate within someone who is, as I like to say, someone who is challenged with narcissism. Because I try to avoid labeling someone as a narcissist, and I totally honor and respect you using that. Of course, hey. So when some of those labels, so lack empathy, tend to lean into vanity, selfishness, those types of things, right? So I always say this to myself. So those three things, for example, let's see. I'm really interested in how I look. I tend to be selfish. I tend to lack empathy. Let's see. Is that me? Yep. And I would offer everyone else I've ever met. Right? So have we ever struggled with the idea of selfishness? Oh my gosh. Yes. Of course.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I am a recovering selfish SOB. Right?
Okay.
So, I mean, come on. So yes, of course we struggle with all those types of things. And to your point, sometimes those can be mislabeled. So again, go do your research, go Google it, go Wikipedia it, go read a book.
But my question to you then, if somebody if you're not going to label them, how are they going to get treatment or help going forward if you can't label them? Just curious.
No, it's a fantastic question. So once again, I think that question, and believe me, correct me if I'm wrong, provide some clarity. As Brene Brown says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind, right?
Right.
Is that, so if we're interested in a diagnosis, because that's going to get us treatment, I would then challenge and ask you to consider who's the us, right? Like, okay, so this person I am in a relationship with, or I've had a relationship with, or I'm still struggling in the relationship. Boy, howdy, if they would just see that they have these issues, if we could just get to a place to where they diagnose themselves or they get into therapy or whatever it may be, all true, all very, very, very true.
Right.
What I would offer is, one, we can't fix them. We can't identify them. I'm reading the questions too. Well, I thought I was going to do the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oops. Sorry.
That is so good. Desma, fantastic. I love it. It's so much more enlightening. That's great. So
better than the dishes. Better than the dishes.
Yes. Absolutely. So, hey, I'm better than dishes. We're better than dishes.
Yay.
I'm really excited about that. God bless you, Desmond. Thank you for saying that. You just made my day. So again, if someone wants to change, they will change.
Oh, true. Totally true.
Right. So when we get into the clinical identification and diagnosis of folks, okay, then we're saying yes, but it's all their own steps and procedures and movements. Right. So we've all heard about the interventions of addiction and those types of things. We bring someone into the home and there's 7 people sitting in a circle and we're going to confront them about their addiction, right?
Right.
Sure. Have there been some success stories in that? Sure. But we all know this. You're never going to change until you want to change.
That's
and
right.
so the challenging thing about narcissism is, of course, is the whole thing about narcissism is they don't know that they're narcissistic. Right? So for us to say,
that can be true.
You know, for us to say, hello, here's the book, here's the books, identify yourself, right?
Well, they usually deny it and then call you one. So that's my experience, right, anyhow.
Which gets us into a really powerful thing called gaslighting, love bombing, all these types of things that are associated.
Those little, yes.
Yeah. So what's interesting about this idea of those who swim in the waters of narcissism, is that it is literally a cesspool of swirl. So if you get into a relationship, right, with someone who struggles with narcissism, and what I will offer is this, and I held up this book.
What is it?
It's called The Human Magnet Syndrome. It's by Ross Rosenberg. I would invite your listeners, your viewers, to be curious and pick up this book.
Okay.
And I fall into the tribe of what Rosenberg talks about. And it says the codependent narcissist trap.
Oh, yeah, I know
so
that
it
one.
alludes to this idea that, and I'm sure you can put this, up in the title and whatever, if you feel open to that. Is this idea that his theory, and I subscribe to this theory, is that there is a continuum.
Yes, there is.
A symbiosis. Okay. So I'm going to have a little bit of a biology lesson real quick. I hope we're okay with it. I did
biology.
Not do biology.
Right.
I didn't do biology very well in high school, but this makes sense to me. Right.
Okay.
So there are symbiotic relationships within nature, right? One of which in my presentation, I have a picture of a sea anemone and a clownfish, right?
Okay.
We probably all know what a clownfish is, right? It's Dory, or not Dory, but Nemo, right? Nemo was a clownfish.
Nemo. Yes,
right?
Nemo.
I wish I could get some Disney money right now. I know that's probably not going to happen. But anyway, so there's a sea anemone, which is the fingered, plant thing that's at the bottom, right?
Yes.
Hi, Eric. You tracked what you think?
Eric.
You tracked what you think about? Yeah. Hi, Tish.
Yes. Hi, Hitesh.
Hi, Tish.
Hi, Erica. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather. Hi, y'all.
Hi, y'all.
Go cheese from Tasty.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So there's this idea of a symbiotic relationship between the clownfish and the sea anemone. And they both are receiving something from their relationship. It's symbiotic. It's a win-win for them, right?
Yes.
Well, Rosenberg's theory is the same, is that without a codependent, there cannot be a narcissist. Without a narcissist, there cannot be a codependent. Okay?
That is correct. I agree with that 100%. Yes.
So his theory is this idea of a continuum. And you know what? I may be able to show this. I can't show a slide real quick. So bear with me. If I can't find it immediately, then we won't do anything about it. But anyway, there's this arrowed continuum. So I'm just going to, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. You probably won't be able to see this. Nope, you can't. Okay.
Nope.
So imagine. So I just, what I just did is probably sold about 10 more books on this. I'm not getting any royalties. I wish I would. No,
I know you should.
I should. There's a continuum. So think of arrows going in opposite directions. Okay.
Right.
So on one side is narcissism. On the other side is codependency. Okay.
That's correct.
And the way that Rosenberg presents this is, so we have, in his example, we have 5 and -5. Or I should say, 5 and -5. And as we move closer to 0 in the middle, healthier, healthier. And we all, his theory is, and I would agree, we all fall on that continuum somewhere. So and it can vacillate.
Okay. Between narcissist and codependent.
To a narcissistic tendency. Right. We can go to a place where we fall into ego, where we fall into selfishness, where we fall into vanity, where we fall into I need somebody right now. Right. And then we can also go and then drift kind of in our natural space, if it is, of codependency, to where we do need to fix people and we can't live without someone. And we really love the idea of a project. We love the fight that happens in a relationship. Quite frankly, we love drama, if I may say so, right? So codependency actually is based in drama. So
yeah.
This whole narcissism codependency.
Well, it's also based in worthiness.
Mhm.
It's based in trying to, not focus on yourself, and fix somebody else, but not fix yourself.
Absolutely.
So codependency is totally not reflecting on yourself and where you need to fix those places, because it's easier to fix someone else, right? Or you think, and you never really fix them, but
no, you don't.
It's nice to focus on that.
Right.
Because it takes all of it away from yourself and all of from your brokenness. So,
absolutely. So his idea of this human magnet syndrome is that codependency and narcissism are forever attracted to one another. So ultimately, just to give a little bit of hope here, as we move forward, is this idea. So how does this pattern end? Right. And we can jump into it, and maybe I can save this. Maybe I need to pause and do this a little bit later, but let me give you a little bit of taste of this. So how does this magnetism end? How do we exit this type of relationship with narcissism?
By fixing that place in yourself of not being codependent. Or if you're the codependent. Now, if you're the narcissist, I don't know.
Yeah, it's well, that's
or you stop manipulating people. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So back to this. Yeah, exactly. Back to the symbiosis idea. So as long as the codependent feeds the narcissist, as long as the narcissist feeds the codependent, this relationship will never end, ever. This is why people don't exit these types of relationships, because they think, if I give it one more week, if I give him 3 more chances, if I just believe in him one more time, right? Because
did you read my book or something?
Right. No, I did not. And this is a story. This is a story that I hear.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
This is a story that I hear and work with clients every single day.
It's the narcissist codependent story. Yes.
Absolutely. It is.
Absolutely.
So
it's a dance. It's the dance.
It is a dance. It is a dance. So if and really the only way out of this, and this is what I will say, is what I what I do say, and this really involves any type of relationship complexity, any conflict, any impasse between 2 people or 3 people, or this could be in the workplace, this could be in a personal relationship with a child, with a neighbor, whoever, is when there is an impasse, when there is conflict, and we're not sure how to end this. So this plays right into the codependent narcissistic relationship. And I'll tell you a quick story where this came from.
Okay.
I was at a wedding 25 years ago, long time ago. And I was blessed enough to be close to the front. And so this pastor was talking to the bride and groom, and I could actually overhear and hear something, right? And he wasn't doing the normal dearly beloved stuff that we naturally hear. He actually was giving them some really profound feedback right there as they're getting married. And this is what he said to both of them. Guys, this is going to be a challenging road. Okay. And there are going to be days in which you don't want to go down this road anymore. Right. You both are going to want to curl up and be the child. You're going to want to throw a temper tantrum. You're going to want to stomp your foot, take your ball, and go play elsewhere. Right. You're going to return to a childlike attitude. But let me give you this. One of you must always be the adult. Which means this: in order to break out of these types of relationships, someone has to stand up and be the adult. So this means a pattern interruption. This means somebody has to stand up and say, I am more worth than the continuation of this toxic relationship.
That's right.
This is super hard.
That's absolutely correct.
This is super, super hard because there is a fear of loss. There is a fear of companionship. Yes. There is a fear of love. There's a fear of losing sex. There's a fear of losing all the things that are associated with a relationship, right?
Yeah. There's a fear of comfort, a comfort level fear.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. And so, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I understand that. And that's true. If you're in a parent-child mode, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
what I've read about a narcissistic codependent relationship, though, is it really does take someone to end it. And a narcissist will do a discard because they've got somebody else in the wings that's giving them better fuel than you are. So
that often happens, for sure.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, if you're no longer playing that game, that doing the dance, they will find someone else to dance with.
Yeah.
So.
And ultimately, and so this is what's important. I'm glad you said that. Ultimately, and I will say this in general, when I'm working with clients, we talk about this all the time. The tendency for the human spirit is to do nothing. Okay. As sobering as that may be, it's true. We have a tendency to be comfortable. Yep. We have a tendency to not upset the apple cart. We have a tendency to not disrupt the home. We have a tendency, because we're concerned with what other people think.
Yeah. Our children.
We're concerned with longevity. We're concerned with loyalty. We're concerned with all these things.
Money, all of that.
Money, children, et cetera, et cetera. All these things that keep us in these relationships.
Right. Yeah.
So we have a tendency to not do anything. So ultimately it's this. We need the leverage, just like a teeter-totter. We need the leverage to be able to do something. Because as I work with my clients, I'll say this. We need to know that we have enough leverage to make the right decision in the right time. Doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, because the hardest decisions are sometimes the best decisions, and the best decisions are often the hardest decisions.
That's correct. I like that. Very good. Yes.
Thank you. Ultimately, we have to say, okay, how much more worthy am I than this relationship?
Yes.
And I will also say this too. This plays into an enormous part of relationship attachment in general.
Yes.
Is that in our society, our culture, I'll just say this, and really forever it's been this, but especially in American culture, there's this attachment. There is this celebration of relationship.
Yeah.
Where if you're in a relationship, you are worthy. In fact, we will hear this often. Oh, you're still single.
Oh, no.
That's single? Still.
Still.
Meaning I'm still on the outside looking in. You haven't quite made the baseball team. You're not in the club. You're still outside. Poor thing.
And it's absolutely fine.
Yeah. So this is an important idea to say, because oftentimes what keeps us in any type of relationship is the fact that we want to be in a relationship.
Yes.
Right. And that is an attachment to the idea of relationship, not the person, right?
Right. Like sometimes
it doesn't really matter. Oh my gosh. I just want to be in companionship because I don't want to be Lonely.
Right.
Or Alone.
Right. That's
right.
why it's so important to have that time to yourself to find, discover your worthiness. I saw the worthiness piece.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you ever heard that song by Kelsey Ballerina called "I Miss Me More"? Yeah. It's a song kind of about that. I miss me more than having the relationship.
I love that.
You have to start loving yourself more than that relationship.
Yeah.
If it's an unhealthy one, obviously.
Sure.
And you have to love yourself in any relationship. You can't bring your whole self to a relationship if you're not feeling your own self-esteem and confidence. You really have to build that up. That's the whole point of coaching, right, David? That we try to get people to make those strides, those goals to reach how they feel about themselves. Your success is only as successful in your own mind. So you have no, nobody else is pointing at you going, that person. I mean, they do, but those aren't the people you want to hang around. You don't want to hang around people that are judging your success. You want to hang around those people that are going to encourage and cheer your successes. So, but you're the only one that gauges that. And of course, this topic is front and center for me. It triggered me, obviously. So, you know, I had a lot of work to do. I saw the work that I had to do when I was in that codependent narcissistic relationship. That is where I had to build up myself and my self-esteem and my confidence level, you know, and it takes a while. It's not going to be overnight, but it takes some work.
It does.
And it's worth it. It's worth it. It's totally worth it. So
yeah, as I say, it's worth it because you're worth it. Right.
That's right.
So, yeah. I will say that Tom Cruise's character in Jerry Maguire, those of us that remember that film, right, really did this idea of relationship codependency really a lot of harm when he said to Renee Zellweger, "You complete me."
Yes.
Right now, it was super cute at the time, and oh my gosh, he's the most amazing thing, and it made her feel just terrific. And it's BS.
Right. Exactly. It's so funny. Jason, who's on here, he's a relationship coach. He actually said that a couple weeks ago on the show as well. Same line. There's a thing. There's a theme there.
Yeah, there is a
theme. Must be about, because another person can't complete you. No. You have to complete you first.
Yep.
You know, well, that's where they had it wrong anyway. So
yeah, they did. And it was, hey, it's a great line. It's a great line.
It is.
It's great writing. You know, from writer to writer, it was a great line. So Cameron Crowe.
Wow, I see a lot of people I haven't seen in a while on here. That's why I'm kind of like, yay.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I see my friends. Awesome.
Yeah. Very cool.
So
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So unless you had some questions, some additional questions, I had some thoughts about some ways and strategies in which to understand you better, right? Yes. So the more that you understand you better, the more self-care that you're doing, the more love that you're doing for yourself, and then you can begin to exit.
How do we get out of the rut of continuing narcissistic relationships? Yeah,
for sure. So I'm going to pull up, I'm still able to see you and you're still able to see me. But I'm pulling up my presentation here. I think let me say this too. This in hopes to be sobering to the idea. And I think it gives us a lot of freedom to know that we're all on this continuum together. And what's interesting about codependency and narcissism, real quick, is that both parties are controlling, manipulative.
Yes. Yes. Right? A codependent thinks that they're not, but that's not true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they're trying to manipulate the narcissist into healing.
That's right. And they're trying to fulfill something in themselves that's missing.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So this is so I have the slide and I'm looking at the slide right now, but I can still see you all. Right. And I just want to kind of go off this. So on this particular slide, Sandy, it says my healing and transformation. So these are some things to think about, some steps. And the first one we've talked about a little bit is 1, distance, space, and time.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is we have to distance ourselves emotionally and need be physically away from these types of relationships. And ultimately what that does is it gives us the confidence to step up. And again, I'm going to use the phrase, who's going to be the adult? Who's going to stand up and say, no more, I'm going to interrupt this pattern because I am worth more. And my peace, passion, joy, and independence is worth more than remaining in a relationship that really is going nowhere.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So distance, space, and time. And by the way, the old adage, I would challenge the old adage that says time heals all. It does not. Okay. It does not. Okay. We just can't be wishful. Okay.
Time heals you a little bit at a time.
We exactly. So I also push back. I've recently been working with my group coaching community and some of my one-on-one clients with this idea that we often put, and I think I said this on my live last week, is we put a lot of hope in our hope.
Yes.
I hope that this person who's struggling with narcissism gets help. I hope that he loves me. I hope that this last time, I hope that this third chance that I give him will be the one.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, hope doesn't get us anywhere.
No.
Right. So the antidote to enacting a pattern interruption is ACTION, action.
That's correct.
Right. So to hope or wish or dream, that's really cute for fairy tales and Disney. Okay. I wish upon a star, but the fact is we have to take action, and that action sometimes, not sometimes, is incredibly challenging. Incredibly challenging.
That's right.
Because we don't want to upset the apple cart. And our thought is, it's kind of the devil we know, right?
Yeah.
At least I know how this relationship is going to go. If I end this relationship, if I do step up and be the adult, I have to step into a space that's unfamiliar, scary, terrifying. What am I going to do? Who am I going to be? Is somebody going to love me the same way? Woo. Ooh. All powerful questions. Really, really, really hard. Right.
Well, if you don't love yourself, you don't know how. If you don't love yourself in the right way, you're never going to get that same love back anyway. So you have to start at that place. Absolutely. You have to start valuing yourself and loving yourself, because you're not going to recognize someone loving you correctly if you don't. So that's just, anyway, that's my nugget.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. So that's the super hard part. You know, none of this is easy, clearly. Right. So ultimately, again, I go back to the idea of leverage, of that teeter totter. We have to have more leverage to say goodbye than we have leverage to stay.
That's right.
And that's really, really hard to do. And I get it.
It is.
Number two. So my healing and transformation. Number two, what I would offer is this: new and healthy influences and environments.
Yes.
So I work with my clients all the time where they say, I don't understand why I continue to attract the same people the same way all the time. Right? It's like, why do I continue to date the same man with a different face?
Common denominator, honey.
Right. Yeah. So when I meet, exactly. Right. The law of attraction. I saw somebody else say this, you know, in essence, in comments. But ultimately what I say is, if you're going to be in the same pond, you're going to catch the same fish.
Yes.
So what does that mean? It means that we need to get out of our comfort zone. So hard to do. Right. Well, I like going to this particular place. I like going to this particular town. I like going to this particular social group. Okay. Yep. But if it is no longer serving you,
that's right.
If it is no longer serving, and this means that relationship, if the relationship is no longer serving me, I have to get out of the pond and go catch a different fish.
Which can mean a whole new state to move to.
Perhaps
1,200 miles away.
Could be. Now that sounds like a personal story, Sandy. Is that a personal story? That's not a little personal, Sandy.
It was very personal. I mean, this is a personal topic for me.
Yeah.
And you, to change my life at one point when I didn't love myself.
Yeah.
I was a codependent.
Sure.
I had to change my whole environment. And it took a lot, and it was hard, and it took a lot of tears, and it took a lot of gumption, I guess you'd say.
Yep.
But it was worth it.
Yeah.
I regained my whole self plus some, plus my self-esteem, plus my confidence. So I'm just saying that, you know, it absolutely, you know, something that I personally can speak to. So it's worth it. Yeah. You know, I'm now in the best place I've ever been because I love myself.
So good.
And not in a narcissist way.
Yeah.
I love myself in the way of I see, you know, I see where I come from, and I can actually look at some of those things as blessings at this point. They were learning activities. Yeah. They formed me and molded me into who I am today. So I love to see people blossom like that. It's like a blossoming, you know, it's a second spring. It's whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to make the hard decisions. Exactly what David was saying early. You cannot, it doesn't come without discomfort.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're going to be uncomfortable, but it's going to be temporary, and it's going to be so worth it in the end. So that's the end of that.
Great word. Yeah. That's, I'm sure those watching and listening really benefit from that. Thank you for sharing that story. It's beautiful. It reminds me of another. Can you tell Brene Brown is one of my mentors? It reminds me of one of Brene's quotes where she says, "Choose discomfort over resentment. Choose discomfort over resentment." Meaning the short-term solution of the uncomfortableness, if that's a word. Can we do that?
Yes.
the discomfort, choose this short-term discomfort over the long-term resentment. Really
That's
powerful.
right.
So
That's
thanks
good.
for sharing that. Yeah.
Yes.
So yes. So number one, distance, space, and time. Who's going to be the adult? Number two, new and healthy influences and environments. We got to get out of the pond, guys. Got to get out of the pond if we're going to fish for different fish. And then number three, I will offer this, is the action step. The real action step here, Sandy, and you know this, is invest in unattached perspective and support.
That's correct.
What I mean by that is
right support system. Absolutely. Yes.
So what does that mean? That may mean a new support system from a social standpoint. Okay. Yes. Specifically, what I have listed here is counseling, therapy. Please. Yeah. Right.
And I had a life coach through that. I had a life coach through that, and I had to have, and she was a lifeline, because she was unbiased. She didn't, you know, a person in that place, you know, your friends, they can be biased.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And they surprise you in their biases sometimes too. Yeah. So you have to really, you know, investing in counseling for yourself is invest in yourself. Yep, do it.
Absolutely.
And it's not a pitch for, you know, new clients. It's absolutely, it's necessary. Absolutely. It is, because if you don't have the blueprint on how to go about getting it, somebody else can help you to get there. Absolutely. They can. So anyway.
Yeah. So, and real quick understanding that, because I get this all the time. And if I could offer this, Sandy, for folks, because I get this question often, is what is the difference between therapy and counseling, traditional therapy and counseling, and what we do as coaching, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's a really important distinction. So this may be proved to be very impactful and informational for folks.
Yeah.
So traditional therapy and counseling, we tend to go back, right? We tend to go back and look at, hey, what happened when I was 3 or 10 or 13 or 30 or 40, right? That's impacting me here in the present. Really important work. Really vital, important work. Why we need to reparent. Why do I have daddy issues? Why do I have mommy issues? All these things.
You have to go back there.
What happened to
that? Yes.
Yeah. What happened to me? What kind of traumas did I experience? Those types of things. What's an important distinction, though, from coaching, which is what you and I do,
right?
Is we are always looking forward, right? We are setting goals. We are creating visions. We are saying, okay, this is where I am today, and this is where I want to be in 6 months, in 6 years, in 16 years, whatever it may be.
Right.
So it's important that we do have those support systems, primarily with counseling and therapy. Super important. I mean, I have clients who are currently in therapy, counseling, and they've hired me to do additional work. So
that's right.
I have a coach. I will never not have a coach. And I can't do this work. I can't help serve other folks if I'm not getting fed by my coach. Right.
Right.
So I am drinking the Kool-Aid full on. I'm fully investing in what I produce. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So, and it's important to, I would offer this too. I think it's important to consider what's best for you when it comes to coaching. I know for me, I offer both one-on-one coaching and group coaching because there's some value in both of those. Right.
There is.
Understanding that there is a reason why we do what we do. And ultimately what I do and what you do is help provide perspective for people.
That's right.
We don't give advice. We don't tell people what to do. Right. So we offer Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We need to offer them the emotion, as I like to say, the emotional real estate in which to make really, really positive choices and break the patterns that blind spots give us.
Yes. That's it. That's it, is getting you
and dealing with takeaways. Yeah. What's that?
I said, that's right. We need to deal with you in the present and for the future. And like he said, psychotherapy is very helpful if you're wanting to go into the past and to delve into those places, to get unstuck sometimes. Absolutely. So, yeah,
for sure.
So, on the narcissist. Okay. So if somebody, do you guys have any questions? If you have any questions, please drop it in the comments right now. I think that we could answer a couple. If you have an issue in that kind of relationship, or even off topic, it doesn't matter. You can ask any question. How about that?
Absolutely. You betcha. Yep.
I mean, I feel like, David, thank you for being a good resource. Okay, she's cooking now.
Yeah.
So she didn't do the dishes, but now she's cooking, but she's listening. All right, Desma. Hi, Lance. How are you? Yeah. And Jeff, I'm not sure what's $50 an hour, but okay. And Ruthie and Heather are saying hi to each other, and Carol, hello. So thank you guys for joining us. So there is a person that I follow.
Yeah.
If you're into the narcissistic thing, which a narcissist actually writes this blog and has a lot of materials out there. His name's HG Tutor. Have you seen him before, David? It's narcsite.com. So what he gives a perspective from a narcissist. So he writes it as part of his psychotherapy. They made him write this blog and to do these things. Of course, he does charge for resources later and everything. And I, of course, downloaded, 50 red flags of a narcissist because I was in the boat that you were talking about earlier about attracting the same person, which was a narcissist over and over. So, I had to figure out what that was, what my triggers were. And, because I really felt like I had done the work, of getting out of the codependent pattern. So anyway, so he's a good resource just to tell you what a narcissist is and kind of give a narcissistic perspective since he fully admits that he is one. But I do agree with you in the Brene Brown giving labels to things because that's the thing that I think that's the difficult part is yes, we can identify it and maybe diagnose it and kind of label it over here. But if I'm able to transform myself and to get whole, so can another person. So you need to really give people the benefit of the doubt on that. I feel like we count them out. Like we're like, oh, they're this, and then count them out. And especially family, I feel like our families especially do that. It's like, I'm not the same person I was, even 3 years ago. So you cannot, in context, make a judgment or an opinion on me if you haven't been around me in my healthiness, in my wholeness. So, I think that we need to be really careful. And like I said, I do agree with you about not labeling it, but I think that identifying it is important.
Absolutely. No, without question. I think what identification does is it helps us to isolate and say, oh, okay, now I'm seeing it. Right.
Yes.
This is a good question, Renee. Hi, Renee. I just realized it's Renee. I know Renee. I just saw your picture. Yeah. So Renee asks, why do we find, I'm going to just read the question. Did you see how I just took over there, Sandy?
Do it.
Yeah. Good Lord. Why do we find the same fish in the pond, even when you are not looking for that fish? Yeah. What I will say, and I will get into a little bit of manifestation, a little bit of energy, a little bit of talk of this is, you will attract what you attract, even when you are not attempting, even if you're not out there. Right. So like speaks to like. The law of attraction, and let me identify that, is you will attract the thing that's in there. And what I mean by that is, well, wait a minute, that's not me. I'm not this, that, and the other. What's important to know is, and this can give some freedom too, and I failed to mention this earlier, Sandy, is there is a reason, clearly, of why we would attract someone who is narcissistic. And this is why. Because there is something about them that is incredibly attractive.
That's correct.
Right? Confidence. Or so it seems. Charisma, decisiveness, energy, right? Are these things. And so what's interesting about that is there's nothing wrong. And to throw ourselves under the bus and go into the shame game of like, why do I continue to pick these a-holes? Can I say a-hole? I just did.
Of course. Please do.
Yeah.
So I call them.
So there you go. So there's something that intrigues us about that.
Yeah.
Right. And in and of itself, it's the last time I checked, I think we all kind of like the idea of charisma, right? Of decisiveness, of a confidence, right? It's like, yeah, we want that. It's not until we understand that that is perhaps some masking going on.
That's
because
right.
we're masking what's underneath. Absolutely.
That's not their identity. That's not their truth. Right.
Yeah.
They're going to come to you who they think that you want to see.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And to get back to Renee, I want to make sure that I honor this question. So why do we find the same fish? I really do believe that the way that we are, the way that we bring our presence, the questions we ask, our pictures. Okay. So if we're talking about dating, right, and we're talking about the normalization of dating apps and online dating and all those types of things, there are obviously very quick and easy and dirty ways in which to swipe and swipe and swipe and swipe and swipe. But what I will tell you is, and this is a lot of what I teach when I'm coaching, is to learn to identify, learn to be discerning, learn to look at something and try to move away from dismissing the yellow flags, so the yellow flags never become the red flags. Oftentimes I'll say to my clients, what we are trying to do is we are trying to limit the time in which it takes to identify narcissism.
That's correct.
So instead of 3 months, you're down the road, you've fallen in love. Oh my gosh, I love this person. And then boom, right? As opposed to maybe we can. Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So perhaps we can identify it in the first 5 minutes of text messaging and never get to 3 months of a relationship. So in doing that, I'm teaching, and I know you do the same, teaching strategies and tools and resources in which to understand that you have now a more discerning eye, ear, taste, touch, all of that to go up. I recognize that. I'm not going near that.
Right.
And then what happens, what's really powerful, again, to get back to Renee's question, is what's interesting is that those people stop coming around.
Yeah.
Why? Because you are no longer attracting them, because you're not that. You're not attracting someone who needs help. Okay. Right. So someone struggling with narcissism will seek a codependent because they want help.
Yes. They see it like a radar. Yeah. They see it on you.
Exactly. And if they see you as someone who's a fixer.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Tell me your story. Oh, you're having struggles? Oh, I totally get it. Maybe I can offer this fixing. Boom.
Done.
Right?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yes.
You just caught the same damn fish.
Yes.
Right? They just look different.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways, covert ones, and there's all kinds of ways that they can come at you. But like he's saying, what is the key is that you have to be healthy yourself. Absolutely. You have to heal and hear yourself. Yep. Before you go for the next one, you make sure that you are so solid and you're so foundationally ground in confidence and loving yourself that nobody can permeate that can't shake you, that it's not, I mean, and it makes you bolder. It does bolster your own confidence to love yourself and really, think of yourself as worthy and write down those things that you want that partner to be like. And if it is, like you said, they do have that charming, charismatic, and unfortunately, usually it's not the truth. Usually they have a lot of self-esteem issues, but how do you identify that though, David? How do you take your clients through identifying the red flag?
Yeah, you bet. Well, the short and easy answer, and it's not, the short and easy answer is we need to identify why that's attractive to us. So, and because I really kind of want to come full circle here. So I'm going to pull up this again because I want to. So these are some of the things, and just let me read this off to you, right? So this is some of the characteristics of someone that we would be highly attracted to. And I'm going to read them off: self-confidence, strength, decisiveness, charm, leadership, charisma, boldness, get shit done. Can I say shit? Get shit done. Yes. Romantic, sex appeal, and passion.
Yep.
Okay. So I just named 5 of those things. Often, Sandy.
Yes.
Those are identified as Goodness gracious, I need to get back to the screen here. There we go. Incredibly attractive things. Oh my gosh. Like I am buying into all of that.
Absolutely. Why not? Okay. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Come on.
So the idea though is those can again be housed and disguised as things that are, so how do we identify that? We identify, why am I attracted to those things that seem, because every time I talk to a client, they say, yeah, but I did see this, but I ignored it.
Right. They ignored
I did ask this question 3 times and they never answered it.
Oh yeah.
I always say this to clients, especially those that are in dating and that kind of thing, men or women, but primarily women that I find. I'm like, ladies, if you ask a question, any question, and I mean any question, and they don't answer it, or they dodge the question, that is a huge red flag. You might be thinking, oh, well, they don't want to share. They want to keep it private. The relationship hasn't gone there yet. And I will call BS, because anyone confident in who they are will answer any question that you ask them. I don't care if it's on a first date or a 10th date. Right. So that's super, super, super hard, because we're like, oh, we don't want to offend. We don't want to offend. Right. At the same time, it's you. So don't you want to find those things out? Yeah. Ask the question. Be curious.
Right.
And if somebody is by the way, if anybody's offended by a question you ask, walk away. As Ariana Grande once said, thank you, next. Right?
Thank you. Desma says, do you really think they are choosing the fixer purposely? Yes. Yes. Yes, they are. Choosing the fixer. They most of the time, this is what I've seen. I mean, they look at your carrying characteristics. I had a friend who told me that he could tell by my Facebook page that I was an empath or codependent. He could tell just by my Facebook page. So he didn't even have to be in a relationship with me, on a date with me, on a whatever. He could see by the way that I responded to other people and my empathy that I was a perfect target. Because he was a prior narcissist, and he got therapy, and like I said, the label thing, he got rid of that. And I'm going to say hi to Paul, a friend of mine that joined also. Okay. You can't expect someone to love you or treat you the right way when you're not doing that yourself. That's correct. That's right.
Yep.
And let's see. Yeah. They actually seek them out. Yes. Yeah. And they do. Yep. Yeah. Hey, Christina.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that, and I'd love to put a little bit of perspective on this. And if we could come full circle, I'll go back to my quote.
Yes.
Which is what? Do you have that pulled up again? I know you were looking at it before.
Yeah. I wanted to put a tiger graphic on it, but I couldn't find a really good one. All right, whatever. It says, blaming the narcissist for all of your pain is like blaming the wild, majestic, exotic tiger for whose cage you chose to walk into.
Yeah. So what's really important about this is to know, and this really leans into personal responsibility in general, right? So because I hear folks, and I've been here too, is we qualify with this. Yeah, but he breadcrumbed me. He gaslit me. He love bombed me. Yep. And you chose to receive it. Right? This is where the hard truth comes in my coaching, right? Where I'm like, and you chose that. Yeah, but we don't have yabbits. Yabbits don't get us anywhere. So you chose to believe it because you wanted it, and that's okay. But as soon as we take responsibility for every single decision that led to us to walk into the cage, that's where freedom comes from. Because if we have total control and autonomy over the ownership of who we are, it gives no one any power. There is no such thing as a narcissist who's preying upon us. There is no boogeyman. There is no Michael Myers or Jason, or since we're in Halloween time. There is not necessarily a narcissist preying upon us, because as soon as we become a victim, we give our power up. We give our ownership up. Instead, I would invite us to stand strong and say, there it is. I see it. I see him. I see some things that are going on that I've been attracted to before. And now I am choosing not to fall prey to that. This is what's so important, because you chose to walk into the cage. As glorified as it was, as beautiful as he was, as exotic. That's why I chose those words, by the way. Exotic, beautiful, charismatic, right?
Yeah, but what I have to say is, in the love bombing stage, because I know this, seduction, love bombing stage, that can actually look like a new perspective relationship. I don't think you can always at first see those things. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a great question. How I'll respond to that is typically, what's the word? Starts with a C. That is correlates to your vast desire to be loved. When we are attached to the idea of being love bombed, of receiving the flowers, of receiving the prioritization, of receiving the constant texts, of receiving, let's go out and have a nice steak dinner, the receiving, oh my gosh, he's a sexual dynamo. Oh my gosh, he thinks about me all the time. Oh my gosh, he gives me these things. Oh my gosh, he loves me, loves me, loves me, loves me. My question would be, why are we attached so much to that constant receptivity of affection? Right? So the love bombing in and of itself feels, yeah, wow, I've really been starved. Yeah, needy, yeah, potentially, yeah. It is for us to ask the question, am I starving for that type of attention? And when you're starving for something, guess what? You will eat anything. Important. When you're so thirsty because you've been neglected, because you've chose folks who will breadcrumb you, give you a little bit here and there to keep you strung along.
Oh, yeah.
So it's important to realize, how hungry are you? Ultimately, what I coach and teach is, we don't want to be hungry.
Right.
Ever. Because you have fed yourself.
Right.
Everything that you eat and consume, you have provided yourself. So you need no one to provide you that type of nourishment.
That's correct. I agree with that. Barbara has a question. Once you decide to leave, do you ghost or be upfront? Well, I would say that would depend on the level of danger. I don't know if you would say danger, but depends on the situation. I don't think we could answer that generally. It would have to really depend on, do you ghost or be upfront?
Yeah.
I don't know. In my prior relationships, I had to do things kind of at the last minute, I guess you'd say. Sure. So there was no wrench thrown in something. So it just depends on the person that you're dealing with. I think that's I think we couldn't answer that depending on, we don't know the situation.
Yeah. What I will say in general though, just in general, I mean, obviously, and I love that you were alluding to the fact that there may be some safety issues, Sandy, right?
Yeah.
So if we're involved in a relationship, if it's a live-in relationship, if it's a marriage, if it's, those are some things to consider for sure.
Yes.
When you are having a relationship and it's a text relationship, you've gone out a couple of times, you've gone out more than a couple of times. I would say this in general is, on those types of experiences, it's always best to be definitive, upfront, and to communicate.
Yeah.
So what I teach and what I coach is never, ever, ever, ever ghost, ever. Right? All that is disrespectful to the situation, is disrespectful to you.
I agree.
And again, unclear is unkind. And by the way, if we do ghost, what that does often to someone struggling with narcissism is that leads them on.
Yeah,
oh, really? Oh, really? Really? That's what you're going to do? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I'll just keep coming. Right?
Yeah. I'm going to hoover you now.
Yeah. This no longer serves me.
That's right.
I thank you for the time. I enjoyed our time together. I wish you the best. Take care.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. And Heather says, yes.
Yeah.
Ghosting is coward.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to get, because I've already had to pay. Well, I mean, I think that when we're still building ourselves, I'd say when we're rebuilding our lives and we're pouring into ourselves, I think we need that time before we get in another relationship. So, it you'll know the time that you're ready. You have to build yourself up to there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you're not even considering it, you need to still focus, introspect.
Yeah. What I will add to that too, Sandy, is and I was invited to a podcast and I did a recording, I don't know, a couple of months ago that I think is still going to be broadcast with another coach, is the idea of, so when do you know when you're ready? Mm-hmm. Now, my answer is this: you don't.
You don't. Right.
Oftentimes, folks will tell me, so how long do I need to wait?
Yeah.
From the divorce, from the relationship, whatever. And this is what I'll say. I have no idea, and you don't need to wait. In the sense of, someone says, oh, I need to get to a level of confidence. I need a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. And what I say to that is, it's important to go into the laboratory. In other words, podcasts, counseling, therapy, coaching, listening to David Lee, listening to Sandy Archer, whatever it may be, right? That's the laboratory. We still need to coexist with the field. We need to get out there and practice what we're learning in the lab. This is important. This is what I say to my clients is yes. And to do it to your level of comfort, but get out there, take action, apply what David Lee or what Sandy Archer says, go out on that first date and apply it. That's the only way we're going to learn. We can't learn in the lab. We have to get out in the field. It's super important.
Well, dating's a whole nother conversation.
Absolutely. Always is.
Dating's a whole nother conversation, especially in our age group. Mm-hmm. I feel like whatever age group that is.
Yeah, whatever age group that is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's true. It's true because I talk to folks in their 20s and 30s all the time, and it's no different. I think I would add this. I think folks that are more of the second half of life, let's just call it that, they've been married and divorced. Okay. Find it more challenging because there's more complexity. It's not necessarily easier than when we're 25. It's just more complex. There's just other things to consider. So, because believe me, I hear the horror stories of a 25-year-old.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I see that. Yes, for sure. So yeah, I mean, there is no time limit on your healing, but like you said, put yourself out there. You'll figure that out. It's true. Sure. That's true. For sure. Yeah. So, well, great. This was a great discussion. We actually went 10 minutes over.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I know.
Can you believe it?
There you go.
So,
well, thank
you. I was so glad to talk to you about this, the narcissist, because, like I said, your meme, really, really had me there for a minute. I'm so glad that you explained it. And I love the way that you explained it. So thank you guys. And I am sure, and hopefully you'll come back again and we'll have another discussion. That would be great.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Guys. Thank you all for joining us. If you have any questions, though, we will monitor this later, and I'll send these questions on over to David if he doesn't see them. But if you have anything else to add and more questions, please put it in the comments. And if you're watching this on the replay, put your comments in there and put replay for me, would you? And so subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to David. Do you have a channel? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I don't have a YouTube channel.
Okay, but you have a Facebook.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm on Facebook. My personal page, Daring Deeply, is the name of my company. It's right there. Awesome. Daring-deeply.com. I do a Facebook Live every Thursday at noon Central, and so we tackle a lot of these same issues. And so you can find me on all those socials. I'm on Instagram, Daring Deeply Coaching. Yes. So please come and find me. I'm more than happy to have a conversation. I love discussing things like this. Yeah, Desmond, the name of the book is called The Human Magnet Syndrome. Human Magnet Syndrome. It's by Ross Rosenberg. Yep.
All right. Well, great. And I'll put that in the comments later. Thank you, David, so much.
Thank you so much, Sandy.
Talk soon. Take care. All right. Thank you guys for joining us.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.